Welcome to everybody on this afternoon. Scheduled a little bit earlier than we normally do, but Simon is getting on a train tonight to go to, where did you say? The Arctic Circle, Simon?
Yeah, I'm going to the Arctic Circle. I thought, in the spirit of Mr. Miller's, how can I say this without falsely quoting my own leader? But Mr. Miller has in the past spoken to me about the biblical verses that refer to a fire coming from the south that will ignite both green wood and dry. So I don't want to, sort of aggrandize and make more of the work that we do than we should. But it just seemed to me that that might be almost a, I don't know what's the right way to put it, Marius. I'm trying not to be conceited about our work, but yeah, I mean, that will sweep across the world. That will go from the south to the north. It seemed to me very symbolic and powerful that we should go all the way from South Africa to the northernmost part of Russia, or nearly the northernmost part of Russia. So that's the long-winded answer to your simple question of where I'm going to. Yes, the Arctic Circle.
Okay, fantastic. And then, yeah, well, Simon, like me and you just discussed very shortly ago, we might do a surprise little video tomorrow as well while you're on the train. Heading there. Hopefully everything goes well. I think that will be a very nice video as well that the viewers and listeners can watch out for.
Yeah, I've just got to. We may have a couple of abortive attempts, Marius, and hopefully I won't give you too many grey hairs. But Russia is a big place, and I suspect that on such a long journey of, I forget the number of kilometers, but it's 20 odd hours long, that there will be places where the signal is awful. And I won't know in advance where those places are. So I may have good signal. We may begin an interview, and then it may turn out that the signal is poor. So what I'll endeavor to do is to anticipate big towns. So when perhaps we're, half an hour from a big town, begin the interview and conduct it as we go through the town, presumably with a couple of stops, and then, kind of half an hour out again. So that might give us a nice kind of hour window in which to complete a 40-minute conversation.
Yeah, that will be fantastic. Maybe while we are doing that, you can obviously pick up the phone and show us out of the window where you are driving, where you are traveling with the train past and so forth. I think that might add something nice to it. While you like speaking to me now, all of a sudden just show a bit out of the window. While you're traveling, that could be a nice thing to see for the viewers and myself. Obviously, I'm just as curious as the viewers are of how it's been and how it's looked wherever you're traveling. Oh my.
Yeah. I'd love to do that. I'd love to share that. You'll see that my eyes keep looking to the left-hand side. Marius, I've seen pigeons in the world. The fattest pigeons that I've ever seen by a long way are in Moscow. They're enormous. When you see these pigeons, you can understand why in Europe once upon a time pigeon pie was a thing. I remember when we were kids saying to our dad, we want to catch some doves and then cook them, eat them. And he used to say, no, man, there's not enough meat on them. He did as a child, lots. But then he used to discourage us with that nonsense story. Actually, we would have liked to have done it anyway.
Yeah.
Even if there was very little meat on it, like he did with his brothers. But he wasn't interested in cleaning them, I suppose, having to pluck them. But when you see the pigeons in Moscow, goodness me, they're half the size of a chicken. They'd fill your belly quick sticks.
Yeah.
So that's what I've just been staring at. But yes, Marius, I'm looking forward to it, looking forward to going up there. And then I've been invited to St. Petersburg after that to witness a big event. I won't give the nature of the event away, but it's going to be stupendous. So
Fantastic.
it'll be Arkhangelsk, St. Petersburg, and then I might go back up to Murmansk in the far, far, far north, and then come back down to Moscow. I've been invited to quite a prestigious dinner, supper with one particular guy, a very prestigious invitation, and then to a conference. So I don't know how I'm going to fit it all in. And then the biggest event of the entire trip will be after that. But hopefully I can squeeze in a trip to Murmansk. But yes, Arctic Circle tomorrow, and then tonight, and tomorrow, and then St. Petersburg for the weekend, Marius.
Okay, yeah. Fantastic. Then, Simon, with our normal Suidlanders chat that we normally do, I ask you, what have you seen in the last week or so in politics-wise across the world? What is happening that you can maybe just highlight for us?
Well, firstly, the Ukrainians are getting thrashed. And this is a perfectly objective thing, notwithstanding the fact that I have always been, as I said to somebody this morning, a Palestinian guy now. I said, I have no sympathy for the Palestinians. And he looked at me alarmed. I said, objectively speaking, I've got nothing in common with the Palestinians and nothing in common with Islam. And as a Christian, I say to you with respect, I dislike the fact that Islam has continually endeavored to invade Europe. I said, so this is not a bias when I say it's heartbreaking to witness what's happening in Gaza. Now, likewise, people may be watching this video thinking, well, Simon has always betrayed some sort of bias toward Russia in the Ukraine conflict. It's not bias. It's an objective apprehension that the narrative disseminated by the West in the West for the world is empirically false. And therefore, I have come up for Russia over and over and over again. Not because I'm a Russia fanboy. I've never wanted to visit Russia, which, as it turns out, is regrettable. I've never been in love with Russia or Russians. This is just a matter of recording the facts. So again, I come up for Russia. And it's pertinent in this conversation because just in the past week, the number of Ukrainian desertions has spiked. And likewise, I was reading some graphs this morning. The Russian offensives have tapered off for various reasons. They are apparently preparing an enormous Russian offensive. So they've tapered off to consolidate and prepare, to rest and recuperate and rearm and repair. But in spite of the fact that they're not attacking heavily, the Ukrainian defenses all along the front line are collapsing under very little pressure. So that's something that basically many observers have been waiting for 3 years. At what point would Ukraine almost collapse under not its own weight, but just be at that point where it simply can't anymore, even in the absence of great pressure? So that's a very big thing. Another big thing is what's going on in South Africa. People are aware of it. Many people are aware of it here in Russia. The Palestinian guy was aware of it. I think, Marius, not sometimes, I wonder if it's not 99% of the time. Sorry, I'm just going to allow 2 people to pass so that I can gossip. I'm sitting between the commie blocks, those communist flats,
Yeah.
Marius? Yeah. Okay, so they've thousands upon thousands upon thousands of them all over Moscow. I'm sure tens of thousands. And that's effectively the suburbs. And within the suburbs, you get little hotels and you get all sorts of shops that have taken over the ground floor flats.
Yeah.
And in fact, the Cafe Einstein that I'm spending the afternoon at waiting for the train is built in one of these kind of almost old basement flats. And people are walking out of the block of flats, and a pretty girl walked out, and it made me think. She smiled at me. That was how it began. Big smile. Goodness gracious me. There are some very, very good. The stereotype is true. Let me just leave it there. The stereotype is true of the women in Russia. But to get back to serious matters, Marius, it's my experience that about 99.9% of the time, that's to say 999 out of 1,000 times, black people believe that white people hate them just because they're black. And I remember at university, well, I dropped out. I did 2 years university. I passed, a full pass, but I couldn't do it anymore because I thought a lot of it was just rubbish. It was one of the reasons. And when you talk about rubbish, one of the rubbishes was we were told in sociology that white people hate black people, that racism exists because white people more or less can't bear the sight of black people, that their dark skins and black hair are repulsive to the sight of white people. And that's just a load of absolute poppycock. And I think from what I can pick up from however many thousand miles away of the conversation of the past 3 weeks that I've been here and not in South Africa, black people are extremely resentful of the fact that whites are leaving because black, as Americans would say. And I think that black people, I once explained this to a black woman, a very good person. I haven't spoken to her for years now because I'm sure, again, she would have leapt to the conclusion that I'd become, a guy who aspired to slaughter black people when I left Johannesburg and joined Suidlanders. And nothing could be further from the truth. It's absolutely false. My maid in Van der Kloof once said to me, she said, "Meneer," hang on, I've got to say this in English. Sir, yesterday at the taxi rank, the maids were debating who is the best master, if you like. I'm trying to translate faithfully. In Van der Kloof. And they all agreed, these are her words, they all agreed that you are the best master in Van der Kloof. I get on fantastically with black people, even on the farm. It's just the way that it is. It's not about hatred. And I'm telling you now, Marius, black people do not comprehend this, that if our government was white, the rage and the fury, the unrestrained bitterness would be far, far, far greater than it is. There is some degree of tolerance and patience with the African National Congress because it's black. There is a degree by which white people bite their tongues because it's black people who are in the government for the most part. And they completely misunderstand why whites want to leave. It's not because black, as the Americans say. It's because rape, because murder, because unemployment, because loss of value of currency, because drastically diminished opportunities for our children. It's because of decline and decay and deterioration. And if our government was white, the vituperation, the fury would be far greater than it is now. Sorry, Marius, I'm trying to knit things together or sew them together at the risk of really losing the thread. I've just recorded a video about an hour ago, which I sent to you guys for Arnold to produce. And I ended the video without revealing what knife I had chosen. It was that time. It was time to put down the camera and deal with the man. Anyway, I ended up getting this one. I'll try to open it with one hand. Oh, hang on, Morris. Just excuse me. Just excuse me while I do this. And this will complete the tale for those people who were curious and frustrated there. For 1,500, that looks like a 2 in the camera, but it's 1,500. Obviously, the number is inverted at 1,500 rubles. So give or take 300 rand, call it 350 rand. I got a knife for which you would pay in South Africa. I'm not the world's greatest expert on knives, but I've bought numerous in various countries over recent years. Usually end up giving the blasted things to Louis. You would pay in the USA for such a knife, quality-wise, weight-wise, you can tell the metal is decent. Probably, I don't want to tell fibs here, $150. And in South Africa, I would say you would be looking at 4,000 rand. I could be wrong. I might be exaggerating by a little. But I think I know enough about buying knives overseas to be in a rough ballpark. So that's the one that I ended up getting from that video at the fishing and hiking and camping shop. So yeah, Marius, back to the story. Sorry, I just felt it in my pocket as I was sitting here, and I thought, well, before I forget, let me complete the tale for those poor people who watched that video and ended up furious at the end because they didn't know what my selection was.
Yeah.
I think that's a very big thing. What's happening in South Africa at the moment is not good. And it is largely based upon error, an erroneous understanding of why people are absolutely fed up by the failure of the country and why they are only too happy to be given a free pass to go to civilization. If they're not wealthy, if you're wealthy, you go anyway. But for ordinary people to get a free pass like that is something that appeals to many people, especially people who've suffered trauma. Why would you not want to get out? I mean, if you were a Zulu and you lived in a certain area that was attacked by Pondos or Xhosas, the chances that you would want to move 3 villages down the way to get away from it. I mean, this is normal human behavior, man.
Yeah.
There's nothing peculiar about it. Anyway, so that's my spiel, Marius. We can gladly carry on chatting, but I think that sums up what's been on my mind concerning events of the past week. Is this tremendous collapse in Ukraine. Big things are coming there. And of course, the asinine nature of the dialectic in South Africa, the dialectic, the conversation in South Africa has become inane. It has become daft and stupid.
Yeah.
It really it's not based on fact and reality and common sense anymore.
Yeah, the curtains has been drawn open on the fable of the Rainbow Nation, something that we've known for the last 10, 15, 20 years, has now all of a sudden gotten onto the world stage, and the world is almost shocked to see that, wow, is this the South Africa, the Rainbow Nation, this peaceful example of what democracy was supposed to look like? And I'm glad it's happened. I mean, it is time that the ANC is shown for what they have done over the past 30 years in this country.
Yeah, that's true, Marius. What you say is accurate. And that's a good turn of phrase. I'm going to coin it. In South Africa, in English, when you say coin a phrase, it means that you exploit it. You make money out of it. And I'm going to make coin of your phrase. The curtain has been drawn. Actually, you have to say it the other way around. But anyway, I'll figure it out. On the fable. The fable is a good operative word. of the new South Africa Rainbow Nation. And yes, we did see it before anybody else because we looked at it differently.
Mm.
And I think that that's why the percentage of COVID believers among conservatives was so much lower than the mainstream and lefties, because the mainstream and lefties are inclined to believe what they're told in the face of the evidence. So we know that the basis of the narrative of COVID was the social media that came out of China revealing, apparently, putatively revealing people dropping dead left, right, and center in the streets, at bus stops, at train stations, and so on, caught by CCTV in China in particularly December of 2019 and January, February, and March of 2020. Then when it hit the rest of the world and we went to the shops, as I did almost every day, deliberately, to Tanizetti's corner shop to test it, nobody dropped dead. Nobody had the basic decency. Nobody had the common courtesy to drop dead in the queue behind me. At some point, I had to reach the conclusion that it was a fable. And it wasn't going to continue to buy into it. And that is the disposition generally of conservatives. They estimate a thing by the evidence of it.
Yeah.
And conservatives, likewise, I don't think woke up in the morning hating the new South Africa Rainbow Nation just for the sake of it. As I don't think that there's any truth in the allegation of the sociology course at university that was part of the reason that I left the university, that white people just, they just came to Africa and they saw the sight of the black people, and on the basis of nothing, no evidence, no substance, no nothing, just plain appearance, took a strong disliking to them. We conservatives, as you rightly said, to be a proposition on the basis of the evidence, because 20 years ago, once BEE was being brought in, it became plain to a thinking person that the economy would become less based upon merit, and that is detrimental. It can tolerate a certain amount of it, but theoretically, every little bit of eradication of merit from any endeavor or anything in life reduces its value, its efficacy, its performance, its essential nature. And that's what conservatives were saying. They were saying basically, who am I going to believe? Am I going to believe you, that is to say the liberals, academia, the elites, the mainstream, the media? Or am I going to believe my own lying eyes? I'm going to believe my own lying eyes, thank you very much, to twist the phrase a little bit, the American phrase, Marius.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. There's certain people that will believe the dream that's being pushed on you about something, and then there's the analytical type of people that will say, well, let's not believe the dream just yet. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Let's go look at the facts and the stats and see how this dream that they are portraying for us, how does that realize in the reality. And then your conservative type person will go, no, but you are talking bull dust. And then there's the other people like the ostrich with the sand, with the head in the sand, that will just go, no, but we believe it. We believe the dream. The dream is alive. So, yeah.
Yeah, but it is, but the operative word there is dream. It is a dream and a fantasy. It's not a reality. It's not a serious thing. When your government depends entirely upon a story rather than performance. You know where I'm sitting, Marius? You know, it happens in the whole of Moscow. I've seen it on a few occasions now.
Yeah.
And I saw it this morning again. They wash the pavements. They come along with machines, wash the pavements. Do you believe that? Wash the pavements.
Yeah.
Yes, but these people are spick and span. This is the 21st century. Boy, this is civilization. Another week before I saw the first example of washing, not the pavements, the road. They wash the tar road clean. So that I suppose so that your tires have a pleasant driving experience. These guys have gone 30 leaps forward over the past 35 years, because there's a great parallel between us and them over the period 1990 to 2025. In 1990, Nelson Mandela was released. In 1992 was our referendum. And also prior to 1994, 1989, effectively 1987, in effect, the gray areas came in about 1987, and they were legitimized in, I think, 1989. I could be mistaken. And Model C schools and so on and so forth. So your reference point should be 1990, because from 1990, let's say the African National Congress had some kind of an implicit power over the rules governing our society. You know, great influence. And communism was declared dead. The Soviet Union was declared dead. Actually, let me speak in technical terms. Technically speaking, Mikhail Gorbachev withdrew Russia from the Soviet Union, thereby effectively ending communism on the 25th of December, 1990. So we've had a parallel with Russia for 35 years now.
Yeah.
And in 35 years, they've taken 30 great leaps forward. And we've taken about 90 great leaps backwards. They are now at the point of washing the roads. We're at the point of
there is no roads.
Replacing our. There are no roads to wash. And that's not an exaggeration in certain places. Is it Wolmaranstad? If you go from to Johannesburg, if you go Tain around or Kimberley around, westward and up through the West Rand, and I forget the name of the town. I want to say Wolmaranstad, one of those ones that you go through there. Through the city center, there is no road.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a dire state of affairs. But, yes, see, this society is flourishing. So if I was, I began to have children when I was 30. My first son was born. I was in my mid-20s. And I was starting to think seriously about settling down, the right woman, children, a house. I'd come to Russia. I would, especially if I had some gift of foresight, whereby I knew it's not. How can I say? If I had a gift of foresight, whereby I knew how much South Africa was going to decline, and I didn't know really how well Russia was going to do. Early 90s, mid 90s. I'm born in 71, so I would have been 25 in 96. So at the time that I was 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that, prior to having children, but starting to think about settling down, I would come to Russia. I wouldn't want to leave my mom and dad behind, but if I knew how badly South Africa would fail, this is the place I would come. The USA, you can't compare it. I just bought medication. I've had an eye problem, a certain eye problem, since I was about 18 or 19. And last year, or the year before, in 2023, in the USA, it got very much worse. Funnily enough, brought on by stress, the stress over finance. I lost about 85% of my sight in my right eye. And I got some multivitamin and some other odds and ends, kind of like a natural medication, not chronic medication. None of it's chronic, really. And it cost me safely less than half what I would have paid in South Africa, and less than a quarter what I would have paid in the USA. Just again, as an anecdote to illustrate they wash the roads. The medicine is practically for free. The food is very cheap. No, not very cheap, but cheap. Cheap compared to South Africa, and for free compared to the USA. Well, what you would pay $5 for in South Africa, butter comes in a half kilogram brick, 500 grams. You get different sizes, but the standard is 500 grams. Okay. In the USA, they measure it in ounces, I believe, but it's about 125 grams. So it's about a quarter of the brick that we buy in South Africa is the size that is, as an average, not all, but the overwhelming average norm in the USA is to sell butter in about 100, 125, 150 gram brick. That costs about $5. So 5 times 2 is $20 for 500 grams.
Sure.
In Russia, the same brick of butter, they provide the statistics that the highest grade one with the most, I don't know, butter, milk, fat, solids, whatever is the correct term, costs you $1. Let's say $2, a little bit under $2. Wow. Just to give you some idea. Yeah, so there's a lot of good to be said for this society. Geez, like, so it's a place. It's really a place to behold. It's a marvelous, marvelous place. It has its weak points. Tajiks, Turkmenis, Uzbeks, Kyrgyz, and Kazakhs. But we'll talk about them in another program. Honestly, they are the only annoying aspect of the society. If you want to get cheated of money, do business with one of those 5 nationalities.
Yeah.
If you want to get knocked over on the road, let one of them come past you on his little scooter. But otherwise, it's a lovely place. Anyway, that's enough from me, Marius.
Well, Simon, our time is basically done. So I hope you have a great start to your train expedition, and then hopefully tomorrow we will succeed in making a video while you are traveling on the train.
Fixed up, Marius. Let's give it a go. And if it goes well, maybe we make 2. We've got the time, and we need to generate content. I know that I have let you and Arnold down a little bit. It was unavoidable, but I know that you guys have been champing at the bit to make content.
Yeah.
So we do what we can.
Great, Simon. Hope you have a lovely day. Cheers, man.
Fixed up. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.